What's Chef Bay doing today?
Chef Pay and I, today we're going to be making chocolate peanut butter oatmeal no-bake cookies. That's a mouthful. If you want to come up with a better name for it, be my guest. Let me know in the comments. This is something you may have had before. They're basically drop cookies, and it uses very simple ingredients. 2 cups of white sugar, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, third a cup of milk, stick of butter, 1.5 cups of quick oats. This is important that you use quick oats and not instant oatmeal or the cooked kind, the fully cooked kind. Look for the ones that say quick oats. Half a cup of peanut butter. And I'm going to use imitation vanilla flavor for this. I like real vanilla for stuff, but not for this. And aluminum foil. A good sheet of aluminum foil or a sheet of parchment paper actually works better, but this is what I have on hand today. All right, so your first step is in your medium saucepan. Just take the sugar and the cocoa and beat them together a little bit with a spoon.
And Chef Pay is concerned that there is no heat and there is no liquid.
Those are about to come in. We've moved it to the stove top, and now before we turn on the heat, just make sure that's all mixed together. Put in the stick of butter. This is going to sound weird. Then dump in your milk. Put it on low heat. And then just leave it alone until the butter starts to melt. As that melts, we'll stir it until it gets all incorporated. And the next step is we'll bring it up to a boil after that. The butter's just started to melt just a little bit. I've incorporated the milk in there. Just kind of gradually stir it around every now and then until the butter gets all melted. We're keeping it on a really low heat because we don't want the sugar to cook just yet. But once the butter's all melted, we're going to bring it up to a boil, and that's when it starts getting fun.
I'm stirring pot.
Now, okay, so now the butter is almost all the way melted. We're just going to stir it briskly to get the rest of that broken up and hopefully melted. This is the point when I get lazy and I say, okay, you know what, that's melted enough. Crank the heat up to about 7. Well, actually not 7, that's more like 6.5 on my electric stove. So, while I'm waiting here, I'm just going to do a little bit of explaining. This part's pretty important. With this, it requires getting it up to a certain temperature and then quickly removing it, adding in the oats, the peanut butter, and the vanilla, and then scooping it out onto the parchment paper, or in my case, aluminum foil. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to wait for it to get up to a rolling boil, stirring it the whole time so the sugar doesn't stick to the bottom, making sure I scrape the sides. And once it gets up to a boil, what we do is we let it go for 1 minute exactly. And we're going to basically leave it alone for most of the time, but just stir it occasionally. Right now, though, keep it on stirring it till it gets to a good boil. And we'll come back and check on that once it's boiling.
When we'll be ready.
Soon.
How about now?
Not now. Must wait.
So are you melting that spoon?
Not completely.
Not yet. Is that the one that I already subjected to?
Well, yes, it is. But I think, what's happened is this spoon is melted. Now it's rehardened, and now that it's rehardened, it has an interesting shape that actually works out well because it scrapes the corners of or not really corners, but the edges of this saucepan pretty well. This is either a Dollar Tree spoon or a spoon that came from Walmart for $1 or something.
It was a Dollar Tree 4-pack.
A Dollar Tree 4-pack. So there you go. This is, quarter retail value. So, a wooden spoon is actually really good for this. If your wooden spoon melts and warps like this, then I don't know, find a better tree. You've got something from another planet. Don't try this at home. I made the mistake of using this plastic spoon. It didn't get in my food, but it worked. So I'm going to switch to a nice sturdy wooden spoon. No, I'm not, because I have to stir this. Okay, now it's boiling. You see what it's doing here? It kind of bubbles up. It looks like a swamp. Now, set a timer for 1 minute. I'm using the one on my stove. It's convenient. I don't know if you can see that or not. Now, basically just let it do its thing. Every now and then, take your spoon, and stir it. I'm going to switch to a better one because that is very sad looking. Switch to a regular, teaspoon, tablespoon, serving spoon, spoon that goes on table. Just take your spoon, go around the sides a little bit. It doesn't need much stirring at this point. A minute's almost gone by. We've just got 15 seconds left. Once this comes off the heat, we're going to quickly add in our other ingredients and stir it. 2, 1. All right, timer's off. Turn off the heat. Move it over here to where we have our other ingredients in the aluminum foil. Take your oats, peanut butter, splash of vanilla. It's about a teaspoon or so. Briskly stir this all together. You want to make sure it's all incorporated, but you have to work fast here before it starts to harden and set up on you. But at the same time, don't skimp out on getting it fully incorporated. I've made this mistake before where I didn't get everything mixed in good. So just stir it, scraping the sides, get all that peanut butter mixed in, all the oats mixed in. And keep stirring until you're confident that everything is incorporated. The pan's going to keep it hot long enough to keep it from setting up. So stir it and stir it and stir it. Okay, that's good. So now all you have to do is working quickly, drop it by teaspoonfuls or spoonfuls onto your foil. Or, parchment paper, wax paper, whatever you're using. Right here, I'm doing it in rows of 3, but I'm going to have to go back and kind of fill in the spaces. There we go. You're not really trying to make these perfect. You just want to get them on there. These are something that my family has been making for a long time. I got the recipe I got it from my mother, but she got it from my grandmother, and I don't know how far back it went before then. And it's easy to mess up. I screwed up on this more times than I made it right. It's one of those things that you have to make a bunch of times, and it's going to be different for everybody. Especially, one of the biggest differences is going to be the altitude. I can't tell you specific adjustments right now, but the higher up you live, difference it's going to be. That's going to be different. Be the same thing with any kind of candy. All right, that's about all I can fit on that sheet. Half an hour later, our cookies are ready to go. Got a few on a plate that's trying to slide away from me. This is actually a nice plate we picked up at the thrift store. And I've got one here. This is for me. Let's just check it out on camera, make sure that I approve. This is good. This is just like a sugar bomb, really. And I typically eat way too many of these. If it were up to me, I would eat all of these. But hey, really quick, since we're at the end here, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Step 1, don't do that. Use a spatula, turner. Get it under there, get that cookie all the way up. Next thing, if you find that it's not setting up for you next time you do it, 2 things you can do. 1, add about 15 seconds to the boil time. And 2, you can try adding about half a cup more oats. As a matter of fact, if you want it chunkier than this, you can add more oats anyway. But that's all for now. If you try it, let me know in the comments. If it doesn't work for you for some reason, let me know because I might can troubleshoot with you. This is one of those things, like I said, it's easy to mess up if you haven't done it before. But that's all for now. If you check back next week, we'll have a new video. If you want to support me on Patreon, I have patreon.com/thevirtualchef. Also, I'm looking for suggestions. If you have any ideas for videos, put that in the comments too. That's all for now.